Welcome to Reche Canyon, California, here in the city of Colton. Now, if you've ever drove between Colton and Moreno Valley through Reche Canyon, you already know this is one of the most unique pockets of the Inland Empire. But for me, Reche Canyon isn't just another neighborhood or another place where I sell real estate. Though I have helped many people through the years buy and sell here, this was once my home. You see, my dad bought a home here in Reche Canyon Country Estates back in 1989. And for a big part of my childhood, this canyon was where I grew up. I remember waking up here, catching the school bus, riding bikes through these streets with my friends, exploring the surrounding hills, and growing up with the kind of freedom that came with living in a place that felt much more rural back then. And now, more than 35 years later, when I come back through here, there's still parts of Reche Canyon that feel remarkably similar. That's one of the things I love about this place. So where exactly is Reche Canyon? When you see Reche Canyon from the air, you really begin to understand what makes its location so unique. We're tucked into the hills just south of Colton. On the northern side of the canyon, you've got Cooley Ranch, and then just beyond that is Loma Linda. Loma Linda University Medical Center, the VA Hospital, the 10 and 215 freeways are all relatively close. But drive into Reche Canyon and suddenly everything changes. The subdivisions give way to hillsides, larger properties, ranches, horses, and open space. And if you stay on Reche Canyon Road long enough and continue south, you can drive all the way through the canyon and into Moreno Valley. I've made that drive more times than I can remember or ever count. I even did my driver's ed and training driving right there through Reche Canyon Road. So Reche Canyon is essentially this rural corridor connecting portions of Colton and the Loma Linda area with Moreno Valley. And yet, when you're right in the middle of it, you can feel miles away from everything else. There's another landmark that has always been part of this area for me, and that's Blue Mountain. Blue Mountain sits between this general area and Grand Terrace, and if you grew up around here, it's almost impossible not to recognize it. As kids, my brothers and friends and I used to climb up all the way to the top, and some of those friends lived over in Grand Terrace. We'd make our way up that mountain and just explore. This was before everybody had a cell phone in their pocket. We weren't tracking our location, and neither were our parents, and we weren't texting anybody every 15 minutes. We'd get on our bikes, head for the hills, and go explore. Looking back, we probably went plenty of places our parents wouldn't have been thrilled about knowing we were going. And there was definitely some wildlife up there. We'd encounter coyotes, rattlesnakes, and other wildlife. And you were always reminded that these hills were their territory long before they were ours. When you get up towards the top, you get on an incredible perspective of this entire part of the Inland Empire. You've got Grand Terrace on one side, Colton and the surrounding valley below, and Reche Canyon and these hills stretching toward Loma Linda and Moreno Valley. But for me, Blue Mountain isn't just a landmark in the distance. We climbed it, we explored it, we grew up all around it. And even today, every time I see that mountain, it takes me back. Now look down at the properties as we move farther into the canyon. This is where Reche Canyon real estate gets really interesting. There isn't one single type of Reche Canyon home. You'll find more traditional residential neighborhoods, but you'll also find large lots, custom homes, horse properties, private ranches, and hillside estates tucked away from the main road. Some properties have substantial acreage. You'll see horses, barns, workshops, RVs, trailers, and long private driveways. And then you'll find some impressive custom homes and ranch estates that can command significant prices. That's part of the appeal. You can go from a relatively traditional Southern California suburban neighborhood to a large private ranch property without traveling very far at all. For buyers looking for some space, privacy, acreage, or horse property, Reche Canyon offers something that's becoming increasingly difficult to find in Southern California. There are still places here where your neighbor isn't 10 feet outside of your bedroom window. You can look across a hillside instead of looking directly into another row of houses. And depending on the property, you can have some spectacular views across the canyon. But when I look down these streets, I'm not just looking at real estate. I'm remembering being a kid. One of the places I remember was the hitching post. My brothers and I used to ride our bikes over there just to get some candy or snacks. That's what entertainment looked like back then. You had your bike, you had your buddies, you had a couple bucks in your pocket, and you had the entire canyon to explore. I also remember the Christmas tree farm there. Those are the little pieces of Reche Canyon history that longtime residents remember that help give this area its rural personality. Agriculture, horses, ranches, and open land have always been part of the character of this canyon. And even with all the development that's taken place throughout the Inland Empire, you can still see pieces of that identity today. And then, of course, we have to talk about probably the most famous residents of Reche Canyon, the wild burros, the donkeys. If you spent any meaningful amount of time in Reche Canyon, there's a pretty good chance you've seen them. They're hard to miss. You'll see them walking across the hillsides, wandering into residential areas and leaving their mark. Every once in a while, you'll come around the corner and find one standing right in the road. They become part of the identity of Reche Canyon and those surrounding hills. The free roaming burros have been in this region for generations, tracing back to animals associated with ranching and the mining history of this area. They're beautiful animals, but they're still wild animals. You got to give them their space, and you definitely have to be careful driving through the canyon, particularly around dark, dusk, and nighttime. Their population has also created some challenges over the years involving traffic, property, and the safety of those animals themselves. There have been organized rescue, relocation, and population management efforts in this area. But culturally, it's hard to separate those burros or donkeys from Reche Canyon. I remember them when I was a kid, and they're still here today. Another place that means something personally to me is Reche Canyon Elementary School. I went to school here as a kid. I can remember catching the bus from our neighborhood and coming right here to the school. Actually, we were here the day it opened back in the early 90s. It's funny how your perspective changes. When you're a kid, you don't think about school districts, property values, or neighborhood boundaries. It's just your school. Now I come through here as a realtor and I see it all completely differently. But at the same time, part of me still sees the place I remember as a kid. Reche Canyon's story goes back much further than my childhood or any of these neighborhoods. This canyon served as a natural travel corridor long before the modern roads and homes you see today. People traveled through these hills, connecting the communities on either side. And by the late 1800s, settlers were establishing themselves throughout the area. One interesting chapter involves the Consul family who settled in the canyon in the 1890s and became associated with the mineral springs here. And that's one reason I wanted to show Reche Canyon from the air. When you're driving down Reche Canyon Road, you see the road, the hills, whatever properties happen to be immediately around you. But from up here, you see the whole picture. You see the ranches tucked back in the hills. You see those larger lots. You see the open spaces between neighborhoods. You see Blue Mountain. You see just how close Grand Terrace, Coulee Ranch, and Loma Linda really are. Today I'm helping people buy and sell homes throughout the same communities where I grew up. And that's pretty special because anybody can pull up numbers and do paperwork. You can look at recent sales, you can calculate price per square foot, you can search bedrooms, bathroom, and lot sizes. But those numbers don't tell you what actually is like to know a community. If you're thinking about buying or selling a home in Reche Canyon, Colton, Coulee Ranch, Loma Linda, Grand Terrace, Moreno Valley, or anywhere throughout this part of the Inland Empire, I'm here to help. I'm Nick Ondaatje with Main Street Realtors. I've been helping people buy and sell real estate throughout the Inland Empire since 2003. Yeah, 23 years ago. And this is Reche Canyon. It's more than just another neighborhood on the map. For part of my life, this was home.